Hi there, I'm Samara. Welcome back to my channel for an exciting new series all about self-discovery, creativity, and writing. This past year has been one of insane growth for me. In September 2021, my boyfriend and I packed up our life in Canada and moved to the UK for a new job in London. Since then, I've got the hang of a job I really love, adjusted to life in London, and went on a journey of self-discovery that probably will change my life forever. For me, that journey was all about rediscovering a love for creative writing. As a child and teen, writing and reading took up most of my time, but once I started college, I guess I kind of forgot all about writing and really stopped for pretty much about 7 or 8 years. I started focusing on my career, on academics, and really all of this passion I had took a back seat. It felt almost, I don't know, silly of me to be reading or writing these invented stories when I could be investing in my career or working towards an internship or something that would be, quote, sensible. I sort of forgot about it entirely until this past June. I was sitting home alone and Parker was out of the house and I decided to watch the series Normal People on the BBC. I really didn't expect much, but I was struck by how impactful and engaging the story was. I cried, I laughed, I felt so invested in the characters, and it kind of reminded me how much I loved fiction and just being immersed in a world of fiction. Over the summer, I started reading again all of these best-selling novels that I had sort of missed out on in the past 8 years. I read probably like, I don't know, 30 or 40 books in the past year. Every week, every 2 weeks, I would just get completely immersed in something new. And I started by just falling in love with reading again. Writing took a little bit longer because I felt really rusty, and despite doing a lot of it for work, it kind of took me some time to get back into it. So in June, or so like a few weeks after, we ended up going to Naples, which is an amazing experience, and I wrote a sort of essay journal about our time there using sort of more prose. I used to journal a lot, and I still do, but it was more telling a story throughout it, and I really enjoyed that process. And then in the weeks that came, I started to think about stories, little bits of prose, I started to get more ideas, and I just started to get immersed in this world of fiction, writing, and reading once again. Then when we went to the English countryside in August, I wrote another journal / story about our time there with my parents, and I absolutely loved that. I would sit like in the outside area overlooking all the sheep writing, and I don't know, I just felt like it was my happiest place. Like, it was the thing that I enjoyed doing the most, that I was happiest doing, and I didn't think of anything else while I did it. Even if I wasn't particularly good at it or if it wasn't going very well that day, I just loved the act of doing it, which I think is a pretty good indicator that this is the thing you're meant to be doing. By the fall, I felt ready to undertake something bigger. So naturally, in my very ambitious way, I decided to start a novel. I thought of the story, of the characters, the big lines of the plot, and basically started from page 1 and committed to writing between 500 and 1,000 words a day. And I actually surprisingly kept it up for like 2 months. I would just sit and develop it, and like, as I went, I would develop the characters more and more, but it was really clear once I got about like, I don't know, like 10 chapters in, and overall I've written probably like 50,000 words, which is a lot of time in writing, that my story just had these plot holes and character issues that just weren't reconcilable. I felt really, you know, down in the dumps for a while because I was like, great, I spent all of this time with these characters, developed this story, but I didn't feel like I could actually continue because basically by the time I got to the first plot point, the story just fell apart. Of course, looking back, I'm really glad that I spent those 2 months getting back into writing, and it was a really important moment in my journey to rediscover my love of writing. But at the time, I felt really deflated and sad, and I was like, great, maybe this isn't for me. I had a lot of doubt about my creative abilities, and I sort of just let work start to take over. It was a really busy period for me. This was about like the November-December period. And I basically stopped writing for an entire month, just letting the characters sort of like drift away in my mind, and I just stopped working on the story entirely. But then by the time Christmas rolled around, I had it written in like 6 weeks, and I just felt like I was wasting time not doing the thing that I loved. And I started to think about why I felt all this doubt, and instead of seeing it as, oh, this isn't for me, I was thinking more in the lines of, I just don't have the skill set to be able to do the things that I want to do. And like, if you compare this to painting, if I wanted to, you know, paint a masterpiece, I would have to start with the basics. I just wouldn't start a canvas and then within a year or something be like have a perfect masterpiece. Same thing for chess or any other skill that you would have to learn. And I think because writing is such a big part of my life, like I write for work, I felt like in some ways I should be able to do this, but there's so much about novel structure and prose and composition that these are just skills that I've never learned. And I realized when I went home for the holidays that like I needed to invest in my learning before I could fly, or before I could, you know, successfully write this novel, or at least, you know, do them in parallel. So I set out clear goals for the year. I set out 5, but one of the big areas was to invest in my development and commit to my learning as a creative writer and novelist. And this sounds like a really big goal, but I was actually really excited. First, I was thinking, you know, let me just get a first draft of my novel done within the first year. But actually, there was so much more that I wanted to learn and discover about myself, about my writing, about the practice and the skill itself. So naturally, as a very academically minded person, my first reaction was looking for courses that could potentially help me improve my writing skills. I initially looked at MA, MFA programs. I mean, obviously I'm in London, so there's amazing programs out here, but it's a full year or even 2 years of your life, and I'm not about to leave a dream full-time job to go back to school, basically. Then I went ahead and looked at courses like Faber, the Faber Academy, or Marcus Brown's. So there's these other types of courses which are seen as like professional MFAs, so you can do them while you work. It's a couple of hours a week, but I work in consulting and my hours can be quite unpredictable, and I was just worried that I would end up spending a lot of money on something that I wouldn't really be able to get the best out of, because I'd be working for like a couple of the weeks that I'd have to be in class. On the other hand, I also felt like I was still very early in my journey, and there's a lot I could do to like develop myself through free resources or online resources before I like made the plunge and committed to a really big sum of money to learn. So the first thing I'm committed to is doing my morning pages. So I'm at the beginning of my journey of doing The Artist's Way, which is a course/book which is all about reconnecting with your inner artist, your inner creative. And it was developed by Julia Cameron, who is the wife of Martin Scorsese and also a super prolific writer in her own right. And she's developed all of these materials, books, courses that help artists just get back in touch with who they are. And there's a couple of pillars of her course, and one of the main ones is to write for 3 pages in your journal, handwritten, free-flowing, every single morning right after you wake up. And it's supposed to sort of put all of your concerns or worries down onto paper so it's not crowding your mind, and also just get your creative juices flowing. And I've been doing it now for like a month and a half, and I found it so helpful for writer's block. I look forward to it because it's fun, and overall, it's just helped with my writing practice in general. The second thing I'm doing is not going to be a surprise to you. The best way that you can learn to write is by reading a lot. And as I mentioned, I already started reading a lot into last year, and I'm going to continue to read a lot going into 2023. My current goal is 2 books per month, which isn't crazy. Like, I've seen people on YouTube read like 1 book every 3 days or something crazy, which I really admire and I wish I had time for, but unfortunately my reading time is in the tube in the morning and at night if I end up taking the tube home from work, so I don't have a ton of time, but it's a priority for me for sure. And then this goes directly into the third goal, which is you definitely learn a lot reading books, but I think I'd like to take it one step further for certain books by actually sitting down and like analyzing what I'm reading. Right now I'm really interested in structure, and I went through a couple of novels and looked at, you know, how like the inciting incident is presented, what's the climax, how is the debate, like what is the tension points, how do they get to the plot points, etc. So I think it's really interesting, especially when I really like a book or like how it's constructed, to do that analysis. I think it's really helpful, and it's also like a fun thing. It's just very time consuming, so I'm not sure how often I'll do this process. If this is something like, it's quite niche and specific, but if you're interested in like breaking down, you know, normal people, or, you know, I read Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin over the holidays, which was amazing, and it's a bit of a different structure. So if you're interested, I can totally make a video about that. Then there's the big 4th pillar, which is actually a self-learning or finding resources that I can learn. So right now my sources have mainly been books. So in the fall I bought Into the Woods by John York on a whim, and it was an absolute masterclass in storytelling and character development. So I keep going back to it, and it's a really good find if you're interested in this. And since the beginning of the new year, so in the past like couple of weeks, I've been taking Ellen Brock, who's a novel editor, her advanced structuring course, and she has so many amazing resources. She's super concise and she's passionate about writing. So I've been doing that, and it's been great. I'm still on the lookout for good resources. I had tried like master classes in the fall, but I felt like it was quite theoretical, whereas I'm looking for actual like tangible advice on like structuring and prose. And there are some resources out there. I have I found a list on the interwebs that I'll put in the description bar. But yeah, I'm gonna basically work my way through that and see what other resources I can find. Finally, the last thing that I'm a little bit nervous about, but that I would like to get to eventually, is basically finding a writing buddy or getting professional advice on my writing. I think you can only learn so much by, you know, reading resources or learning about it on your own. At some point, you're gonna need someone to look at your work and to tell you what's up for real. So, you know, you can hire an editor to look at a couple of pages or like a couple of scenes in your novel, or you know, you can just like find writing groups. I'm not quite there yet, but that's something that I would like to work up to as I make progress in my novel, and then as I gain confidence in my writing throughout the year. Naturally, one of the best ways to do this is just by taking a writing course or doing a writing retreat, which both interest me, just maybe not right now. So now here I am. I finished Ellen Brock's structuring course this past week, and I'm really excited to move forward with the plotting and planning phase of my novel. I'm still trying to iron out certain character details, mainly the male character's main character flaw, because that's going to affect his dramatic arc. But I already have a pretty good idea of what I want the big plot points to be, so I'm excited to start thinking about the actual scenes and beats that occur throughout the novel. I'm actually going to use the same character that I developed in the fall as a starting point, and it's a lot of the same ideas, but they're going to be developed a little bit differently, so it'll be interesting to me to see how these characters evolve. I'm not super keen to share the exact details of my story quite yet, or really maybe ever on the channel. I have a personal connection to this story, and part of me wonders if, you know, maybe I won't ever finish this novel. So I'd like to keep it to myself, at least until I'm in a better place with it. I can say that it's a contemporary fiction novel, and it's a coming of age story about two young adults whose lives weave in and out together. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm really excited about it. My goal with this channel is to kind of A, create some accountability, but B, just share this process of writing a novel, my first novel hopefully, and just developing my writing skills. Even if I don't finish the novel, which I doubt because I really want to and I've been working at it for many months now, I just know that writing will always be like a fundamental part of my life moving forward. And I lost it for a bit, but like this is it. This is what I feel like I'm meant to do with my life, and what I just love doing probably more than anything else. I'm at the very beginning of like everything I want to do. So yeah, I'm excited to share that, and maybe it will interest one of you, or you too are on your writing journey, in which case hit me up, because I do need a writing buddy and I will read your work. And I would love for you to read mine. So that's it. I'll be making vlogs about creativity and self-discovery, self-development, and writing. And, you know, I'll also be talking about my career. So I work as an associate at a brand strategy consulting firm. So I do a lot of writing, copy, storytelling for my job, and I really love what I do. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of overlap in the work that I do. If you're interested, hit the subscribe button or like this video, or just write to me. I'd love to chat to you. I'll put my email down below. I'm off Instagram right now. I might go back on it, but for now I will stick to email. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.